Okay, we are live. Welcome, everyone. This is a very special live stream. I know it's Friday, but we are very exciting lineup. So today we're speaking about everything around the 8004 with James and Marco. Before I start giving some kind of intro, you want to quickly introduce yourself. James, you want to start first?
Sure, I'll do a quick intro. My name is James Young. Been in the Ethereum ecosystem since 2016. I co-wrote the white paper for Moloch DAO, implemented the first payment channel on Ethereum, the precursor to L2s, co-wrote the white paper for token created registries as well, which is very pertinent in terms of, I think, background in 8004. And for the last 5.5 years, I've been co-leading a project called Collabland, which we do token gating on Discord and Telegram. And we manage about 50,000 plus crypto native tokenized communities.
Nice, nice. Yeah, it's exciting to have you here, James. You're quite a legend in the space here. Marco, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Yes. I've built companies in education and Web3 in the last 20 years. I'm a technical founder, so I always have also a technical angle as a founder. And I joined MetaMask because MetaMask acquired one of my last startups. And I'm currently focused on AI. I'm super excited about push all this revolution in a direction which is permissionless and open and enable users to get the value of AI while still preserving their privacy and their ability also as builders to build without going through intermediaries.
Nice, very, very excited. It's quite an honor to have the co-author of 8004 here in this live stream. And excited to have this chat. I think the way that we can structure is giving some kind of background of information around 8004, kind of agentic economy. We can dive deep into, I think your tweet, Marco, was spot on yesterday with the update. You kind of break down also specific use case and implementation. And then, yeah, we can keep up the flow kind of open to see if there are questions from the audience. And I think that's we're good to go. Okay, so this ERC is all around agentic economies, right? I think for giving a context to everyone, people in the past 1 or plus year, even in Web2, we're building agents for a long time, right? And there are different languages, different frameworks. I think for the people hearing, maybe you started your agent building with Eliza, right? So, and when you kind of start to build and build within kind of the agentic economy, you're starting to think about, okay, how those islands of agents are communicating with each other, right? And I think one part of the game here, and this spec specifically is empowering, is kind of trustless agent standards. And we can dive deep a bit into it, but I would love to kind of hear your thought, Marco. Very high level. Walk us through a bit kind of this spec around A004. You mentioned around 3 distinct registries, right? The identity, the reputation, and the validation. And I would love also to understand why you thought even in the first place to co-write this with other authors and why we needed a spec like that.
Yes. How does an economy look like? So you have public signals, if you think about it, like prices, and you need to have ways to meet other economic actor and propose to do stuff together, maybe hire them, maybe sell or buy services. And having neutral rails to do that, it's crucial. So in our world, central banks are providing currencies. Streets enable us to walk from one place to another. Internet backbones enables the internet. And it's very important that these public signals and rails are not owned by anybody. So more in practice, in the last year, MCP and HOA, I think, solved the problem of communication, which means I know that I want to communicate with an agent. I'm ready both on that. How can I do that? How can I send a message? And that's, for me, it's done. It will improve, but it's done. In terms of payment, with X402, for example, I think it's great. You really have a global settlement system, which is blockchain-based to pay agents. And so the last missing tile of the puzzle, it is one of the most important, I think, is how do I get aware of existence of the agent in the first place? Because otherwise, how can I communicate with somebody? How can I understand that it exists? Which is a problem that in computer science we call maybe discoverability, or like of entities in a network. And part of the discovery is, of course, how do I decide if picking one or the other, which is the problem of trust. So with other people, with Davide from EF, we were chatting with many Web3 projects, and there were no standards, there were specific approaches, and this is clearly, it's not a technical problem. So we hope that the spec are good. I think they are, I hope, but this is more a coordination problem. And so the exciting thing about what's happening around 8004 is that you really have hundreds of companies, thousands of builders, including also, of course, very relevant companies and group that agree on something. And that's important because it's about bootstrapping a permissionless open-ended system where I put an agent and it pops up in all the explorers. And that's the best answer that we can give to the first, of course, centralized GPT stores that are that already exist. And finally, I don't see this as so. For now, OpenAI is a different approach, but I don't see them as competitors. I would like to involve them. They should join the movement. They should join the open economy. So this is public rails that will enable OpenAI to interact with Anthropic agents, and I think they should be excited about working together on making this safe and secure.
Oh yeah, you remember, James, that we were speaking a lot around like agent collaboration, agent communication around Modern for the past years. I think like you're also super excited about this.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this. Just to give a little bit of context, we've been working for about a year on this coalition called Mother, and we had this idea or concept of registries. And Marco, what you're talking about is hugely important because I think the signal with this EIP shows that we need something that's credibly neutral, and I totally agree that it's a coordination issue. I have a question for you, Marco. Before we do more of this technical deep dive here, would love to get your perspective of why do you think the spec has sparked such this imagination across specific subset in the Ethereum community? What's the deep coordination unlock that 8004 really enables that didn't exist before?
So there was a strong need because all the people that care about the values and the problems that we are talking about were already maybe working on that, but they felt that the way to connect the dots, it was what was credibly neutral, was missing. Second, the spec, it's generalized, I think, enough, and we have really tried to make it not opinionated, but at the same time actionable. So I think it was a good balance between something that is very undefined and something that is too opinionated. And finally, in terms of coordination problem, I think that having among the co-signers important players of the Ethereum ecosystem, and not just the co-signers. So if you are in the builder group of 8004, you really see many brands, many companies, many builders endorsing that. So it was like a snowball effect, because again, it's a coordination issue. And so seeing something that seemed to be generalized and a good solution with so much excitement has triggered other excitement.
Yeah, that's a great point. With regards to the Telegram group, I don't know if we can post the link for those that are interested in joining, but there's a lot of great conversations happening in that TG group.
Oh, I will post it for sure.
Let's do that. Clicking the link.
All right. So moving the conversation along, maybe we can then go back to address Francesco's question with regards to the different type of registries. And what I found very useful at a high level is the tweet or the post on X, Marco, that you defined. And maybe that could help provide some framing for us, for those that are not familiar, that are listening to this stream. or recording with regards to 8004, and they can look at the post and then maybe augment the post with this recording or live stream to get a better context of this. So
I just shared it here. Yeah, so basically, like Marco, you posted out this yesterday. Super excited. So trustless agents, and I like how you break down. I don't know if you want to run us through a bit these kind of like points. Agents are NFT, agents are portables, and the fact you identify also the specific specs is also like very yeah, very useful for from agent developers and everyone.
Yes, so let's go through them. NFTs. So we realized working on the draft and the initial spec that, of course, all agents are different among each other. They are not fungible. And also the way we were defining an agent in the August spec, which is an ID which is assigned by a smart contract, an address of an owner, and a pointer, a URI to off-chain stuff, was exactly at a high level the data structure of a 721 token, most commonly known as NFT. And so this choice is a way not just to reuse the amazing open source contracts done by OpenZeppelin, but actually to have a solution which is immediately compatible with all the application and infra that in the last 5 years have been built, 4 years, 5 years, because of NFTs. And so it's a way to enable, as we see on the screen, in one line, to mint an agent, pointing to the agent card that we will discuss in a second, and then also have a standard way to transfer agents. We don't know how much transferring agents will be like a massive use case. Like with businesses, right? My place has a good reputation, my business has a good reputation, and I sell it with its reputation to another agent or another human. Will this happen? It makes a lot of sense, but of course it's very early. And so the interface, the on-chain part of the interface of an agent is an NFT with only one difference that is on top of that. So it doesn't break compatibility. You have a possibility to add on-chain metadata, like key value, like wallet address, agent name. This is flexible, is left to a developer's composability. So you can add key value on-chain data. If we move to the next one, we see what this link that we have seen in the NFT links to. We call this registration file, and together with name, description, and image that are the field that they're not mandatory, they are suggested for NFTs. It's the one that we have all been using, which will be important. I think that in the description field, people will describe what the agent is. Sorry, people or other agents will describe what the agent is for, what they sell, which are the skills, potentially also the prices. We have on purpose let that as a natural language field, because like describing prices would have been too complex. And then more importantly, that's the real sense of a registration file. You have all the endpoints of how and where the agent want to be reached, like the MCP endpoint, very popular, that all the AI community is using, the A2A endpoint that is called agent card, which is a JSON that says in A2A. So A2A is a communication protocol created by Google and donated to Linux Foundation at the end of June. Plus, thanks to the input of the community, we added the ENS pointer, DIDs, if you want your agent to have a DID with a customer solver, and also you can also, as on the on-chain metadata, as I was saying earlier, you can also like put here the wallet. So it's really the card, the ID of where the agent wants to be contacted, and I bet that this will be like the discovery layer. So having like explorers that render this will be at the beginning the most successful part of 8004, because it's very easy. You have logically centralized discovery of all the agents. Logically, because it's a smart contract, it's an NFT registry, but of course it's architecturally decentralized because it's blockchain based. So you have the global registry of agents. And finally, you can also mention which trust models you support, which is what we will like go through now in the next one.
One thing is, Marco, just
Question.
you remind me a lot like the NFT standards when there was no way to actually move NFTs from kind of like an OpenSea to Rarible, right? There was no attribution standards, and this portability factor for agent is a very similar problem that is solved right now because it's very powerful.
What's next? I don't remember what's the next
Oh
one.
yeah, let me do it here. Reputation is on chain.
Oh, sure. So reputation needs to be very flexible because you should be able, it's not just about, okay, I'm at a restaurant and I give 3 stars out of 5. You can also embed this in the application logic. For example, I'm working with a group of friends on potentially a game where agents give reputation among each other on their trustability, if they are liars, if they are betrayal in a game, right? And so this can also be used in, this should be used in ways that we don't imagine right now. So it's entities that give signals among each other. That's why the reputation system has a score field, which is an integer from 0 to 100, but then also has a couple of open tags. And these three things are on chain, while off chain, that's optional. If you need more stuff, like the more powerful and rich structure that we see in front of our eyes, we point to an off-chain file. This is again optional. And we built like that because in August and September, so many builders reach out saying, don't put everything off chain. We want also some stuff on chain because this enables composability. And this part has been developed a lot also in collaboration with Eric from Coinbase. And specifically now in the new version, you have an average score function, a get summary function that is slightly under what we see in the screen, and you can get get summary at the bottom. You can basically get on chain the reputation around something, filtering by reviewers. And so you can make your own. I can say I just care about James reviews, and you can on chain or off chain do. I call it information Lego, reputation Lego. That's a bet, of course. So we are betting that Ethereum could be the trigger for distributed reputation. Decentralized and distributed reputation, self-sovereign identity is stuff that, frankly, we have been talking about for years and hasn't yet reached mass adoption. And my thinking is that this stuff is really good for agents. It's more than for humans. The fact of like putting together hundreds of signals and deciding what to do is more for agents than humans.
By the way, we have one quick question from Ayush here, which is the recommended implementation of the registry one should follow today, like entry points?
We will push for and actually worked for having chain singletons. So on Ethereum, you will have only one registry, one identity registry, one validation registry, and one reputation registry. So we are shipping the registries in testnet end of next week. That's the plan if you manage to do that. And then on the mainnet of, well, L1, but also we have many, almost all the major L-Choose projects are involved in the discussion. We will have from DevConnect all the free registries deployed on each of L-Choose that will decide to do that. Also for non-EVM chain, we're talking a lot with Near, for example, and we are defining. It's not decided yet how the governance of the proxy contracts would be. At the beginning, we still prefer to keep the option of upgrade the contracts because maybe they will not be perfect at day zero. So we will have probably a multi-sig. Then at a certain point, maybe they could just become immutable.
Nice, nice. Thanks for asking this question. Feel free to shoot a question in the chat, guys.
Yes, please.
Marco, NCP. This is, I think, is super exciting. The next part here, like NCP support.
Yes, that was probably the most common feedback to August draft. So, which was something like, okay, A2A is nice, but where is MCP? And and we tackled that in a very simple way. So as A2A, as the concept of skills, context, and task in MCP. When you when you contact the server, you get through capabilities the list of tools, prompts, and resources supported by the server. So an MCP tool is a server, right? So it's an agent in a sense. Is an agent. It's a computer. And so with 8004, you can use it and give it a feedback. So for example, I've used the tools called Create, and my score is 20, and I can share more information. So that will take a bit more time than discovery, I think. But in practice, so there are already MCP catalog that are popping up centralized. With this, you can do exactly the same but decentralized with filters and orders based on the reputation.
Nice. Let me move to the X402.
That's to show that in reputation you can also add signals connected to the payment. So for now, you can attach in the off-chain part a proof of payment done with X402. That means that off-chain aggregators, because the off-chain JSON can't be read, of course, from the EVM, can use this to weight the feedback.
Mm-hmm.
So if and that's to mitigate spam attacks. So if I've just paid $100, it's less probable that my feedback is which is anyway pre-authorized by the server. That's very important. Is spam. My dream, frankly, we're still working on this, and it will come later and not necessarily in the standard. It can be an application. Is to like prove to the smart contract all your history of payments and come up with a full distribution reputation system distributed where the opinion of each rater and ratee is weighted based on how much he has paid or has been paid. And this would solve a lot of the Sibyl attacks and spam problems. But let's see.
We have one question, Marco, from Bill. Can we tie multiple agents under one identity, right? I think this is tied also to reputation system. The question is, do you really do we want that, right? Because I mean, I think it's mostly identity is mostly about verticals, right?
Yes. So the answer is in general no. So what we're trying to say, it's called identity because when we say that one identity is one agent, right? So you can have, of course, an owner that owns multiple agents. You can have an operator that manage multiple agents. Operator as in the NFT standard. So the identity here is not the identity of a human. Of course, Francesco can have multiple agents. It's the identity of the agent. And so saying that an identity of an agent is multiple agents is like a contradiction in terms. If it's multiple agents, it should be multiple identities. And so you should mint multiple tokens. That's why the token points to a JSON that has one name, one description. You can't have multiple names, multiple.
Yes. Yeah, you don't
that
want
makes
to
a
also
lot of
use
sense.
corporate.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that there can be this role of an orchestrator agent then that just hires other agents, but that orchestrator agent has its own identity. And maybe there's a usefulness for this orchestrator or managing coordinator agent, but every agent itself has its own identity.
Agree. I think this is tidying up also with the validation registry here on the 7-point Marco.
So validation is a very flexible registry that we added to support different use cases. And the use cases, as everything that we have done, are really tight in what the community is already doing. So we haven't invented anything from scratch. We just talked a lot with people, and specifically, this is related to 3 use cases. One is, imagine that you have a set of validators that rerun your job, the work of your agent, and confirms if the job has been done correctly or not. And since these validators have a collateral, are staking, if the validators are cheating, they lose the collateral. This is an approach that is very useful when you have money at stake and you don't have frequent jobs. Let's say that at midnight every day you need to rebalance a portfolio for 100 million. That's a good use case. This use case is like led, inspired, co-drafted also with Eigenlayer, with Nima, who is leading AI there, and also with other colleagues. And how it works. So as an agent, I request the validation, and I put as a validation address the AVS, the Galera AVS, or it's not just a Galera specific, of course, can be any other competitor of a Galera. And then that smart contract, it's up to the smart as it was before, we just trust the smart contract, and then it's up to them to write the on-chain and off-chain application logic to run the validation. Another example is related to trusted execution environments, TEs, that are in our pockets, in our iPhone, on our laptops. So it's all the major chips, like Intel chips and others, provide the possibility to attest the fact that a given calculation has been done by them. So technically, it's not proving the correctness of a computation. It's just signing the output as a chip. And so that means that that's an important limitation. The code need to be open source, the Docker image, the container image. If you trust the container image and Intel or Amazon Nitro, you can trust the output of a validation. And lastly, that's something I did in the last version. So I initially like push back on having ZKML, zero knowledge machine learning, which is basically bringing ZKP to AI. So you have we're talking about inference. So you have a prover that proves the correctness of an inference, because it's very forward looking, and this is an approach that has strong scalability issue. But the reality is that in the last few months there was a lot of progress, and so we mentioned that explicitly in the spec, because the validation registry is totally compatible. In this case, the validation address that you point to is the verifier of a proof. And so, how can I say? I'm just looking forward to see the ZK-ML space to progress so fast and making this usable soon.
Nice. Let me move to the gasless easy indexing.
Yes. In the previous version, the clients, so the clients that buy agents work, were asked and supposed to register as well on the registry. And this was a strong limitation because it made the gas sponsorship more complex, because it was interactive. You need first to register, then to express feedback. And we pushed also because of the input of many co-signers and community members to just have no registration for clients. You just need an address which is authorized, and you just need a signer, basically a private key. And this makes the gas sponsorship, but is managed by application with 7702. It doesn't need to be in our protocol, because luckily 7702 or for 337 is also compatible with that as well. And something else to mention is that, so if you need to collect signals, we can't ask the client to do that. So you need indexers to put data together. And Edge and Node, which is the company that is behind is working a lot on the graph ecosystem, has been an important contributor. And so in practice, you will be able to use subgraph to index all the reputation signals that we were mentioning. And one thing that we are considering, I don't know if I'm spoiling something, is also to have subgraphs on X402 payments data that are used for reputation, because nodes on subgraph of chain could, as oracles, pass back to 8004 reputation signals based on payments. And so you could do on-chain reputation Lego based on the payments, as we were saying earlier. So that's cool. So, and all this stuff is tooling related. So I think we will discover a lot in the next few months. It's very hard to predict now all the huge possibility of creativity that developers will express.
Oh, yes. So many use cases too, right? What are kind of the main use cases that you see right now being built by the dApps? I think there were 50 plus dApps already supporting A004. There is a lot, the ecosystem is definitely flourishing, but I mean, there are so many use cases. And I just want to ask you both, James and Marco, what are the top kind of use cases that you see being built right now?
Oh, Marco, please go first.
Okay. Um, the most popular that I've seen up to now is Agents Explorer, so front ends
Mm.
find agents. Second, for sure, trading agents. So Zi-Fi, Giza, and many others.
Mhm.
Credit. There are many projects building agents that manage your holdings. Um, the most creative communities are clearly the Liza and Virtual Swan that are part of our ecosystem. I've seen like they're creating like dating apps. Uh, uh, we're thinking about like building agent that can do create your 3D clothes. Also games. So I'm like
Mm.
we, some of them thinking about a game to generate words and having agents that need to collaborate to reconstruct words. So I would say that these are also social media manager agents that using
Mm.
reputation, which is low stake. So in a sense, agents will get more and more popular based on what AI are good for. AI are now incredibly good in doing creative analyst and like manage social medias and also doing consultancy work.
Mhm.
And so let's say as analyst, and so creative analyst and analyst and creative agents and analyst agents are I think stuff that is happening already in our community and in general.
I love what
That's
the
amazing.
Lego-based reputation you mentioned here.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, for me, my lens is community, and we manage all these shared communities in chat on Discord and Telegram. And for us, we think about how can we have agents because chat is a natural interface for communities. It's also the main form to interact with these agents. So the way I think about it is how can we deploy agents on platforms that already exist and do simple things like onboarding, swapping, bridging, trading, all of these things, just so that we can get more wide mainstream adoption. And I love what Marco you were saying in terms of compatibility with 7702, 4337, having this NFT. It's so composable. And that's why the design space is so wide. So for us at Collabland, we think about this from a product perspective as allowing these communities to employ these agents for on-chain quests to help guide and protect against Sybil and just really grow the community correctly. And the hard part is the incentive design for these communities. And we have the distribution. We're just trying to really figure out the right incentive mechanisms there. So I think about it from the lens of community management mainly.
There is so much. Like I'm thinking about even like Discord management or even community tooling management. There is a lot. I think also what Marco you're saying around. I think I agree around the DeFi specific use case and the kind of like social fi. I think there is also a lot of opportunity around like decentralized science, like a lot of like research specific agents, not just kind of like scraper, but kind of like multiple layer of research. I see already kind of even centralized AI starting to do like multi-prompt processing. So there is a lot of like things that can be extrapolated on that. Okay, so where are we seeing next? I think like post your tweet. I think like you were sharing. Let me kind of like share it right now. But basically, this is kind of like the main spec. We will share it here in the chat. I think these are kind of like the three main things: identity registry, reputation registry, and validation registry. And then you can actually like go through a little bit. Um, and what else? What in terms of like resources, people or at least like developers specifically, like they should check out before even like starting to develop an agent, Marco.
We are targeting earlier next week, mid next week, to have like new docs, tutorials, and
Nice.
SDK. We are really working on that with a community approach. Again, we are not like shipping off features. 8004 is like managed by multiple people, multiple company. There is no like specific company controlling this. And so the reference implementation that you will see next week are actually created by many different components of the 8004 community. So my suggestion is to wait like the specs are very technical. So if you like specs, of course, let us know. but I really suggest to stay in the builder group. Different reference implementation have already been posted actually, so you can just right now click on the GitHub and see the repo, and wait for the reference implementation and the SDKs and the tutorials, and not leveraging the spec that are bit boring.
Yes, yes.
That's
And
very
in terms,
that.
go for it, James.
Oh, I was just saying that's great practical advice. So
Yes.
For now, what I read from that is you may want to get familiar with the specs, but there are going to be practical examples and use cases, SDKs available, and definitely join the builders chat because you can see
Oh yeah.
reference implementations as next week drops. I'm super excited to see that. Can I ask one closing question? It's a little bit of a hot take, if you don't mind, Marco. Um, what is the one thing about ERC 8004 you think most people get wrong?
I think frequently or sometime people think about it as a product. And
Mm.
so, for example, they ask, okay, but you could have spam, you could have, yes, you could have spam, but what we're doing here is a different thing. This is a protocol. We are creating public signals. Signals are information. This is about Claude Shannon information. We want to have a place which is not censorable, which is permissionless, where you can let other people know that other agent that an agent exists, and share signals around agents. How this will be used in terms of explorers, aggregation rate, and that's not up to us. And that's a
Mm,
feature. We need multiple ways to aggregate reputation data. Otherwise, that would be a risk for, again, for having a plurality of voices. And
mm,
exactly as in the current world, we have an entire industry about like rating people, and in financial world, we will have entire industries of like agents, intelligences analyzing these signals. So 8004 is trying to make everybody converge in information public rails, and that are public goods, and that can hope to trigger new information economies. Is not a product itself, it's an
mm,
ERC.
Yeah, I
That's it.
really like this question, James. I think a lot of people also misunderstood. Hey, you would kind of like, no, I think the goal here is to giving like kind of like guardrails and standards, and I think it's very exciting. I mean, one thing I also like to close up. I mean, Marco, is there something that you feel like the community can build that is missing right now in A004? I know always like community asking how I can get actively involved, right? Not just consuming the specs, but also what can I? Is there
mm.
something that is missing? I mean, you touched on some kind of like alpha there around Oracle specific, but is there something that you wish kind of like, hey, this could be picked up by the community, or this part is something that I would super appreciate if people kind of submit PRs?
My suggestion is to join the builder group. Not just that. What I see more often is there are like other communities that are connected with 8004. We mentioned multiple times.
Hmm.
Olas, Virtuos, Eliza. Yesterday, Protocol Labs announced that they will give IPFS free spinning to everybody.
Hmm.
So staying not just in our group but in all the other community is a way to get more support, to find co-founders, to find co-engineers, to start building. To build what? My preference suggestion is to focus on consumer facing stuff and not
Hmm.
aggregators. Platforms that aggregates agents, many are already building 8004 compatible explorers.
Hmm.
That's, I mean, it's done. You can build your own, but let's also focus about games, consumer products like agents that helps you booking a vacation. uh, Today we mentioned creative agents. So I personally I use ais when I use my social medias all the time.
Hmm.
I would like to have an agent where I do the same, but it's more conversational and it does stuff for me, because the LLM can already do that. So let's build it. Analyst agents. So really thinking about B2B and B2C cases
Mm.
and applying 8004. and not necessarily just starting from the point of having an
Yes.
explorer.
It makes sense actually, and I know we are almost some time here. Last question. This is not technical, Marco, but what does success will look like? Like for example, I know like now 2050 dApps supporting A004. I know for example how many agent and transaction there are right now. What you will say that we are meeting here in, I don't know, in 6 months, and we're saying, okay, like this is the right direction. These metrics are showing A004 adoption. Like I need numbers. I need like to understand, is this like you wish like 80% of agent transaction will be run around A004? There will be, I don't know, like 2000 agents running this collaboration rails. You wish like give us some kind of like metrics or number that you say, okay, this is I mean, we are successful in doing that if we're meeting here in 6 months back.
Yes, it's hard to measure the market share because the point of not having public signals is that we can't measure the centralized agents. This question is also in general related to agents, but not necessarily what we're doing here. We are still green. It's very early. So we talk a lot about agents, but also centralized agents are not super popular. So my answer to your question is I will be happy if I really see a meaningful part of AI ecosystem relevant, that is deploying everyday agents there, so number of new agents in the identity registry, and has a dense traffic of reputation and validation signals. So if I had like to create a chart, is number of new agents and measure their activity with so it's
Yes.
weekly active agents, where active means that receive the feedback or a validation.
Oh yeah. And I think, James, we're always speaking a lot that like there are so many forks of the forks of the forks of ELISA agents that is starting, like we need a better, like let's say, attestation framework and profilation. So that's exciting. So any closing words, James or Marco, before we're closing up? That we are really at time here. Join
I would just like
8004
to,
for sure.
yeah, I mean, this has been tremendous. So thank you, Marco. I just want to express my appreciation for doing this stream. I think this is a great resource in terms of being able to get more color around and what to expect in the coming weeks. And I really like the composability aspect and just getting a lot of meaningful and thoughtful feedback from the ecosystem. And that the idea here is it's not another science project, but just trying to keep things as practical as possible and as meaningful as possible here. And also with your question, Francesco, when it comes to like KPIs, like we need to see something that in terms of use case and adoption here, and that's the focus here. So I think I'm very excited about this.
I'm sure
So thank you, Marco, for helping leading this.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation here, and please join the community. To all the people that are listening to us, looking forward to seeing you there.